Good day everyone, especially Sir Lolito. My discussion is all about the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. I have 5 lists from 17 Sustainable Development Goals. First, we have no poverty, zero hunger, quality of education, good health and well-being. But for today's video, I am going to discuss what is poverty. Poverty is what we call the condition of people who do not earn enough income to be able to afford the necessities of life, which is measured by the poverty line. The poverty rate is what percentage of the population lives below to the poverty line. What is the goal here? To end poverty in all its form everywhere by 2030. In 2015, the United States nation created the 17 Sustainable Development Goals and aimed to achieve them by 2030. All United Nations member states agree on these 17 goals to end the poverty, ensure the prosperity and the protect of the planet. Why we need to be in? More than 700 million people, or 11% of the world population, still live in extreme poverty and is struggling to fulfill the most basic needs like health, education, and access to the water and sanitation, to name a few. Why is there so much poverty in the world? It's because poverty has many dimensions, but it includes unemployment, social exclusion, and high vulnerability of certain population to disaster, disease, and other phenomena which prevent them from being productive. Sustainable development is basically an act and plan which help us to achieve sustainability in any activity which makes use of the resources. Moreover, it also demands its immediate and generalization replication. In this discussion, I'm going to what is the goal and target of this topic. First, we have by 2030, eradicate extreme poverty for all people everywhere, currently measured as people living on less than 1.25 a day. Second, by 2030, reduce at the least by half a proportion of men, women, and children of all ages living in the poverty and all its dimension according to the national definition. Third, implement nationally appropriate social protection system and measure for all, including floors, and by 2030, achieve substantial coverage for the poor and the vulnerable. By 2030, ensure that all men and women, in particular the poor and the vulnerable, have the equal rights to economic resources, as well as access to the basic services, ownership and the control over land and other forms of property, inheritance and natural resources, appropriate new technology and financial services, including the microfinance. By 2030, build the realization of the poor and those in vulnerable situations and reduce their exposure and vulnerability to climate-related extreme events and other economic, social, and environmental shock and disaster. Next, ensure significant mobilization of resources from a variety of sources, including through enhanced development cooperation in order to provide adequate and predictable means for developing countries, in particular less developed countries, to implement programs and policies to end poverty in all its dimensions. Lastly, create sound policy frameworks at the national, regional, and international levels based on thorough and gender sensitive developed strategies to support the accelerated investment in poverty eradication action. As one of living in the society, can we actually achieve this goal? Yes, according to economist Jeffrey, to the end extreme poverty worldwide in 2000 years, calculated that the total cost per year would be about $175 billion. This represents less than 1% of the combined income of the richest countries in the world. For the poor, focusing on segments of the economy where most of the poor are active, namely on micro and small enterprises and those operating in the informal sector. So, what can I do about it? For me, as a young person, active engagement in policy making can make a difference in addressing poverty. It ensures that your rights are promoted and that your voice is heard, that intergenerational regional knowledge is shared, and that innovation and critical thinking are encouraged at all ages to support transformational change in people lives and communities. There are a lot of people saying that I'm not poor, why should I care about other people's economic situation? Because there are so many reasons that in short, because as a human beings, our well-being is linked to each other. Growing inequality is the detrimental to economic growth and undermines social cohesion, increasing political and social tension, and in some circumstances, driving instability and conflict.